It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. Welcome to a Tuesday. Gary, if I knew that it was so easy to call in sick, and let's face it, of the two of us, I've taken a few more sick days. But if I knew it was so easy to get away with excuses, look, I called somebody, but they had the flu, and then their mom had the flu, and their neighbor couldn't call me. I felt like I was in the third grade again yesterday with all of the, excuses coming from Austin and Pentagon and the White House and everything else.
Well, we didn't hear the dog ate my homework.
I was waiting for it. The dog ate my doctor's report. I was waiting for it. I thought it's going to happen. Because it was just it really was so third grade. I mean, somebody was supposed to call for him, but they had the flu.
Well, did you see Clapper? You see Clapper was on CNN, or I think it was CNN.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, it's no big deal." I mean,
Yeah.
Some of the people knew where he was. What the hell? We're talking about the Secretary of Defense. By the way, it was interesting because I forgot what publication said, here's what's happened before.
Yeah.
And they talked about when Rumsfeld was defense secretary.
Right. Yeah.
And had a 2-hour minor procedure.
Yeah.
He officially transferred his responsibility to somebody else.
I Googled that because I was like, didn't Rumsfeld have something going on at one point? And I remember it kind of seeming, wow, this is really, I don't know what the procedure was. I Googled it, but I couldn't find the details. I was actually on the go, and I had pulled over in my truck, and I looked for it, but I knew something had come up in the past with Rumsfeld.
Okay, it was Time Magazine.
Okay, all right.
Lloyd Austin surgery blunder may have compromised national security. This article is part of a D.C. Brief Time Politics newsletter. Donald Rumsfeld's left shoulder had been acting up, an injury likely dating back a half-century to his days as captain of the Princeton's wrestling team. It was 2006, and the 74-year-old Secretary of Defense found a stretch in his schedule that was as calm as it was ever going to be, and he traveled to Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland, to fix his rotator cuff. But before heading to a 2-hour procedure that would take place under local anesthesia,
That weren't even going to put him under.
Right, you're still going to be awake. Rumsfeld dealt with one of the many new realities born out of the post-9/11 environment. He temporarily transferred power to his deputy to respond to potential foreign aircraft coming into the United States airspace. The power to order the downing of a potentially hostile plane reverted to Rumsfeld shortly after he began his recovery, which means, because you wonder, right, who can say shoot this down? The Secretary of Defense, if a plane comes in, apparently can do that. And since you have that power, or whatever powers you get from the president,
right?
At that particular point, that's why you make it official to do so. I'm telling you, we have an administration that doesn't even understand that they are the executive branch of the United States of America. It's nothing serious. It's like, and we called it as soon as first I thought, before I saw that Trump came out and said fire him, I said, well, he's not going to do anything. Biden doesn't fire anybody.
Right.
There is no standard in this administration. He has fired no one.
Right.
No one has been fired in 3 years. And so coming on 3 years.
Yeah, coming up on 3 years. Yeah.
Nobody's been fired in 3 years. But it was like nobody looks at the roles of what you're doing. The perception is nobody takes seriously their job and their responsibility to protect the United States of America.
Well, it's, I thought to myself yesterday, they're not even competent at being incompetent. I don't know how bad it has to be really bad at being incompetent. Because they were walking around in circles yesterday, throwing excuse after excuse, and I thought, this is not that hard. There is protocol, and everybody in this equation knows it. And if they don't, they should all be fired.
Well, what I loved was yesterday, well, we're going to review this entire thing and see what the policy. What are you talking about? I'm sick. I'm going in the hospital. I can't come in. Send a memo to everybody.
Yes, I'm transferring my powers immediately until I'm out and able to take over those powers again.
Right.
Look.
Well, you don't need a review. Well, we're going to need I can see the administration. We're going to need $14 billion.
Yes,
that's what they want.
Right, we're going to have a $19 billion bipartisan panel to review the procedures that are already in place, the protocol that already exists. Well, and it's probably one page.
I was thinking $14 billion because that's the amount that Biden wants for the border in order to expedite people into the country. So we need $14 billion in order to have a bipartisan panel to look at the fact of how we can solve this incredible problem of how the defense secretary doesn't go AWOL. I have an idea. Bring a note in from your doctor.
Yeah.
This isn't complicated, Biden administration. Bring a note in from your doctor, write a memo, send it to the president, transfer your authority over.
Well, and by the way, I added the extra $5 billion because I suspect that's how much they would ask for when they say, well, we're going to need some money so we can Google what are the powers of the defense secretary of the United States. I mean, it's just insane. When the attack happened in Iraq, we struck in Iraq last Thursday, to take out the militia leader there that they say was responsible for the attacks on U.S. personnel. And at that time, on Thursday, we still didn't know that Austin had been in the hospital. But the question you brought up when we came back on Wednesday morning was, who's giving the orders? And so now I want to know what all was involved in any of those orders, who was giving orders, who was signing off on what. Biden seems lost. I'm not sure he remembers his name.
Well, here it is, December, National Review put it together. December 31st, U.S. Navy helicopters returned fire and sank 3 small boats carrying Iran proxy militants in the Red Sea. On January 2nd, the United States quietly reached an agreement that extends its military presence in Qatar for another 10 years. Isn't it amazing that was not a news story anywhere?
Yeah.
On January 3rd, 2 explosions killed nearly 100 people and wounded scores at a ceremony in Iran. On January 4th, U.S. forces in Iraq conducted a self-defense strike that killed the leader of the Iran-backed terrorist group that is operating both in Iraq and Syria. And that's huge because that was an attack inside Iraq.
Yeah, right.
And so this wasn't, for example, this wasn't necessarily going after Iran. This is something completely different.
Right.
And January 4th, we still hadn't heard from him.
Yeah, that's why I have that question, is that was a very different type of operation than what we had seen in recent days leading up to that. Who gave these orders? Who was part of that decision-making?
And the response was basically, because the response to everything, no matter what it is, it's just those Republicans making a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah.
Everything is a Republican. The border, they're just making a big deal out of anything. Come on. Look, ignore the fact that the former president of Harvard committed plagiarism over and over and over again.
Yeah, right.
The problem is Yeah, she did it, but she should stay in office because the people that found out that she was a plagiarist are Republicans.
Right.
And therefore, if Republicans, whether truthful or not, bring up anything, you just dismiss it.
Right.
And so that
doesn't matter what it is.
Right. And that was the same thing here yesterday. And I'm shaking my head going, wow, this is really amazing.
It really is insane. And I was thinking yesterday morning, I was waiting for them to come out and say, well, Secretary Austin is doing okay. He's doing fine. He's healthy, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, that's going to be that weird diversion that has nothing to do with anything. At some point, there was a decision made to put him in the ICU. So at some point, he was not able to carry out his duties. Coming back, and it was sometime mid-morning. A commentator on, of course, MSNBC. Listen, Secretary Austin is doing fine. He's back. He's fine. He's healthy. And I thought, there you have it. They're giving you an answer to a question nobody's asking.
Well, see, I don't buy any of it. You know what really happened. He was quiet quitting.
Act your wage.
That's right. He was acting his wage.
Exactly.
Well, here's the other thing, too, because this is some of the questions up there. Well, all right, so he was going under this minor procedure, and he said he was just working from home.
Right.
But he was going under, and they said, again, elective procedure, which was interesting. They said elective procedures can be something that are actually very serious. It's called elective because you choose a date to get it done.
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly. Right.
But
right.
It can be something serious.
Right.
So when you just throw that in there, and I just said minor. I was wrong to say minor because I don't know if it was minor because they won't tell anybody what it is. Well, he's extremely private. I don't give a damn. You give that up when you're Secretary of Defense.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a certain thing.
I don't need to read his chart.
Up. Yeah.
I just need to know if he followed protocol or not.
But, I mean, there's a lack of any type of seriousness. I believe there's a perception out there, but I believe the perception is reality.
Yeah. No, I think it is, too.
Where they just don't care. Right. It's almost like, we just go about our day every day. And it's almost like they're just going through the motions of it.
Right. No, I mean, it feels like probably a lot of offices felt like during the mid part of COVID when people were starting to go back to the office, but not everybody went back to the office. Or maybe later when they were told they kind of need to go back to the office, but the company wasn't really enforcing it. Hey, where's Austin today? I don't know. He's out working from home again. Oh, well, who's running it? I don't know. Somebody's running it. It'll be fine.
Who's running it? Wait. Who's closest on vacation?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got somebody in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Tell them that they're taking part of the responsibilities, but don't tell her why.
Yeah. Give her 3 or 4 things that she'll be responsible for. I mean,
this is, but this brings the whole point of the complete dysfunction inside the administration between communications with the president and all. Think about this. Are they all just off on their own doing whatever they want to do? Because the president really...
Well, you and I asked this question.
Remember, the Joint Chiefs didn't know that he was even... That came out yesterday.
Right.
Didn't even know that he was... This is mind-boggling. And they're just like, it's no big deal. Oh, you guys are just conservatives, and so you're making a big deal out of it. But if the defense secretary goes AWOL for 4 days, not a big deal.
I mean, we talked about this. It was... I want to say it might have been a couple of years ago. But somewhere along the way, we talked about the fact that it just seems like nobody's in charge and that everybody in the administration and on the staff is doing whatever they want. They just kind of, just give Joe, his coffee in the morning. Tell him to tie his robe. And, and just whatever. Because, and the reason we said that then, and it still exists, is that you were getting so many different answers on every issue. Everybody was getting different answers. Now, yes, that was happening also during the Trump administration. to the point they finally just quit doing pressers for a while. But the fact is that was on Donald Trump because Donald Trump kind of kept changing the answers. Not kind of, he did. And so they were like, well, just let him talk to the press. But that's not the same as it seems nobody is in charge.
Yeah.
And this is where we are. It seems like there is no one driving this bus. Staff, cabinet members, they're all just kind of, well, it's the electronic football.
No, it's a great
just turn it on and pretend like you're playing a game. Pretend like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and everyone's going in different directions, and nobody cares.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Starting and charging system-related issues are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. So when your batteries talk, it's important you listen. Knowing the warning signs that could indicate your electrical system needs attention can help you avoid getting stuck out in the cold this winter. Your truck's inability to crank at the proper speed is the most obvious sign that a battery-related issue is present. If you experience any sluggishness when cranking your engine, get a full electrical system check from a trusted service provider. Continuing to crank a vehicle with low or inadequate voltage will damage the starter and can cost you uptime down the road.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. I mean, what a bizarre day it was, though, Eric. And
crazy.
We didn't talk about this in our pre-show meeting, and it's just funny because all of a sudden we just other stuff going on, and all of a sudden we're on the air, and you start bringing it up, and it was like, oh, you had the exact same analysis as I did with the whole Lloyd Austin thing, where they were just dismissing it. Now we knew because I had said he doesn't fire anybody yesterday, then when I saw that Trump said fire him, we said, well, now he definitely won't get fired because if Trump says to do something, you know that Biden's never going to do it. But I'm not saying that that's what caused Biden not to fire him because Biden hasn't fired anybody. He didn't fire anybody over Afghanistan. You know why? I saw this yesterday. He didn't fire anybody over the botched exit of Afghanistan. Well, because he'd have to fire himself.
You have to start with him. I mean, I know Nikki Haley said that yesterday, that Biden needs to be fired. I mean, you're making it's a campaign stop kind of rhetoric. But the fact is that in any of this, it points out clearly why Biden is not fit. He's not competent. He's not capable of governing. Gary,
yes,
think about this. Rumsfeld was under a president that, of course, everyone on the left calling, made him look like a buffoon, as they do any president on the right. But there was a culture there that was, you follow protocol. Yeah. In fact, leading up to this president, it's been the case. It's not that hard. Man, the editors at National Review. Austin is AWOL. He went AWOL.
Yeah.
This is, and they're right. You abandon your post. And there's no excuse. None. You can't explain this away because nobody wants to hear it.
No, that's a great point.
You abandon your post.
How could you possibly prosecute somebody in the military for going AWOL for a day or two? I mean, what kind of an example are you setting as the Secretary of Damn Defense?
Exactly.
Call in and get a word in edgewise. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just saw this one, and I thought it was interesting. Bill DiAgostino from Newsbusters. Now, we say the people at Newsbusters have the hardest job ever.
Yeah.
Because they actually have to monitor the liberal media.
Which means they have to watch it and listen to it.
Would you want that job?
No.
Well, think about this. Think about what they had to do here.
I'd be getting elective surgery a lot if I had that job.
In the second half of 2023, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre answered only 2 questions about the scandals facing the president. That brings the yearly total to a paltry 8 such questions that she answered over 75 White House briefings. The analyst over at Newsbusters examined official White House transcripts, for every briefing. I guess that would be preferable, right? Read the transcript instead of actually watching her.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Of every briefing she conducted in 2023, recording every question she was asked about the 3 major scandals faced by President Biden, his alleged mishandling of classified documents as vice president, the corruption allegations against the Biden family, and the cocaine found in the West Wing. Of the 333 scandal-related questions the White House reporters asked, she provided a definitive answer to just 8 of them, 2.37%. The figure tracks very closely with our findings from the first half of 2023, in which the press secretary only answered 6 out of 252 questions, 2.38%.
By the way, on the cocaine thing, I think we nailed it. It's not Hunter's. He doesn't leave any behind. And given all of the bizarre things that have happened in this White House, it really could be anybody's. I'm just wondering at what point they convert it or whatever they do, because it's just weird.
I'd like to have, forget about questions on the scandals. What I'd like to see is just overall questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I have noticed that, and Kirby does the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have any information on that.
Right.
We have any information. You'd have to ask them. I want to know how many times that they have deferred, because the thing that's fascinating is if, for example, something happens in a Homeland Security, that's under the executive branch.
Right.
And so what's become common knowledge, and what I would like to see, oh, my God. And I'm asking Newsbusters to do this.
Like it's a jukebox. Hey, I put my dollar in. I want the song to play, Newsbusters.
Well, I mean, it would be pure torture. But on the actual issues, when it comes to, for example, let's take Homeland Security under Mayorkas. Mm-hmm. Could you think about it? We talked about how unserious this administration is with the debacle. Think about how unserious it is putting Mayorkas as head of.
Oh my gosh,
Homeland Security.
Yeah,
it's like we don't give. It's completely the opposite.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I'm going to do everything to ensure that we make it easier for terrorists to get into the United States.
Well, think about it. The only guy there that's doing the job that he was put there to do is the climate czar, John Kerry. Am I wrong?
No, but I was wondering where you were going. I'm like, where's he going here?
There's only one, and he's on it. He's the only one doing his job.
You saw Mayorkas yesterday. Mnuchin had it that he went in, was talking to the Border Patrol agents and said, no, 85% are being, over 85% are being thrown. Remember, it was 70%. We said, it could be over 70%. He said in the meeting it's over 85%.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yep.
It's insane.
Think about this. Now, I remember when the whole thing came about whether we should have Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no.
Right.
You're going to form another bureaucracy.
Right.
I remember I said, no, I'm not for it. Let the FBI, let whatever, expand the FBI. Do not create, and think about it now. Homeland Security right now. is a part of the federal government that is making our lives more dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, they are. They're compromising every day the safety of American citizens.
Yep. Exactly the opposite.
Because you can't make the case, well, these people are being screened, these people are being... No. No one's being vetted. The one lady got a court date for 2031.
Putting Mayorkas in charge of Homeland Security is like putting Newman in charge of your home security, where he reverses the peephole.
Right.
I mean, Sarah, it is. I mean,
it is. In every hotel room I've stayed in since that episode, I've thought about that episode.
You check the people
I got to check the people.
But and I know, I mean, people might have laughed, but I think it's an accurate point.
Yeah. No, it is. It's absolutely the truth.
What I said there, I was the Babylon Bee telling the truth.
Right. And you laugh because of the absurdity of that. I mean, it's tragic. All of this is very serious. When we were asking who's in charge, who's making the calls, I'm not sure if I expected the answer to be absolutely nobody, and also part two of the answer to be because no one is competent. The only confidence I have in anyone in the Biden White House
is John Kerry.
That's how bad this is.
And the problem with that is reality is now hitting what he wishes to do.
Exactly.
But reality is actually, think about, you can't even look and go, well, the major force blunting the movement of liberal principles from the Democratic Party is the Republican Party. Now it's reality.
Right.
It's all come up against reality.
And every single day that reality plays out right in front of us. Right in front of us. It's right there. You know, these aren't the things you have to go. You don't have to be a wonk and be doing tons of research.
No, you don't.
You know, for days or weeks.
No, you don't.
It's landing on your doorstep. And I just don't know. I don't know. You know, we talked, there was the thought, especially, I don't know, maybe more than midway through the second term of Barack Obama. And one of the news organizations wrote an article in his last month, maybe a few weeks in office, about the culture that was created and these all of these positions that were filled with activists, basically, and how many there were. And it was pretty staggering. And these are positions that don't require Senate confirmation. These are hires.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it, and it was like, it would take, first of all, it would take the next administration eons to find them all, discover them all. And then it would take the process of essentially eliminating them, and firing them and, showing them the door, whatever, would be almost impossible the way they lined it out because there were so many. And everything you see here is not about, as you pointed out, Homeland Security Director is not, Secretary is not, he's doing the opposite of securing the border.
The exact he's taking your taxpayer dollars and doing it to hurt the United States. He's taking those dollars and hurting your security, your safety. He's doing the exact opposite of what he should be doing. And remember, it's about Homeland Security. That's why I said, and by the way, it's a Seinfeld reference for people that don't know. When I said, putting Mayorkas in charge of Homeland Security is like putting Newman from Seinfeld in charge of your household security, where he reverses the peephole so the burglar can see inside your house.
Right.
That's how insane it actually is right now.
No,
and
it is.
every Democrat listening right now knows that. Well, they know it. If you're a Democrat, you know that right now, that we have a Homeland Security director that we're paying out of taxpayer dollars to make our lives harder and less secure. Now, you look at everybody else and you look, for example, whether it be the climate czar or anything, any of the major issues out there, and everything is about making our lives harder. Exactly the opposite of why you have government.
Well, think about go across the board. Leadership at the FBI, Fauci. Everywhere you look, tell me where you can turn. There's one guy you can turn to and go, okay, what's he designed to do? Oh, he's doing it. And it's John Kerry. He shouldn't be there, to be clear. But that's the only one that goes, okay, well, yeah, I mean, he's doing what they want him to do.
Right, but his job is lying.
Exactly. No, his job is to set up the lies that come in and make it harder, more difficult, and more expensive for you to get electricity to that little plug in the wall in your home.
Right.
Which, by the way, they, in terms of accomplishing things, they're right on point on that. It's all about activist agenda. None of it is about doing the job that the Constitution says they should be doing. None of it. None of it.
None of it is about making your... Look, when you hire anybody, when you take your money and you hire anybody, you don't do anything. I don't know anybody who hires anybody to make their life harder and less secure.
Right.
In government right now with the Biden administration and with Democrats in general, we can go... whether it's the border, whether it's electric vehicles, whether it's what they want to do with the grid, whether it has to do with the fact that they caused inflation, whether it has to do with the lockdowns that were completely and totally unnecessary during COVID.
Yeah.
Everything is about making your life harder.
Yep.
And less secure. Lying about Afghanistan.
Yep. And by doing that,
defund the police.
Right.
No cash bail.
Yeah.
Everything is about making your life less secure and harder. And if you're a Democrat, you know that. You know you can't debate that.
The looting of stores that goes unpunished.
Yeah.
It's organized crime in your neighborhood that's doing that, and the left made it happen. They didn't just watch it happen. They made it happen.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I know. Yesterday was one of those days. It wasn't a big news day where there were like a lot of new stories, but it was that kind of a day where you and I just went, "What the hell?"
Well,
it's just one of those.
It's the fallout, but you're looking at it going, "What? What?"
Yeah.
I mean, it started with Austin. That's my bad. I guess I should have done a better job. That's, my bad. Sorry. Then, somebody at the Pentagon had the flu. They were supposed to tell someone else, and they were supposed to tell someone else. And, and then, No one answers their phones anymore.
It's really good to see that it's not hard to shut down the Pentagon.
Well, I mean,
if the Pentagon
seriously.
can't communicate a message to the president because somebody else had the flu, excuse my language, we're in a hell of a lot of damn trouble.
Well, this is the problem. I think of Kim Jong-un. He looks at this and says, my gosh, they really don't know what's going on. They really don't know what's going on. Austin abandoned his post.
Yes, he did.
Full stop. There's no way around that. That is an accurate statement, and there is no hyperbole in that. You don't keep that from anybody by saying you're working from home. ICU is not the home unless you're one of those hardworking nurses or doctors that pretty much lives in the ICU as a matter of your living. That's not the case with Austin. He abandoned his post.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. Good morning. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for being here this morning. Here we are.
Do you think the quiet quitters are going, we have a new hero? If the Secretary of Defense can get away with it, we're golden. They have to be thinking that.
Yeah, I mean,
if he'll do it and he's not going to get fired, I'm fine. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, I again, when we talk about it, I just look at it and just say it is mind-blowing. I understand that people, the opposition to the way that we think, are out there and they're passionate about rhetoric. They're not actually passionate about where they stand because they don't. Because if you're passionate about where you stand, you'll promote what you believe.
Right.
You'll be out there and do it. And that's one thing that's really changed since I became a talk show host, going on 35 years. Well, we're in year 35. We haven't completed it yet.
Right.
And that was the one thing. Liberals would actually, this is what I believe. You don't hear that anymore. You don't know what they believe.
Yeah, right.
No, you don't. It's a complete, well, we know what they believe, but they won't tell you that that's what they believe.
Well, yeah, they don't outwardly promote what they believe. Yeah.
Right. And, the border is a perfect example, of that. But now it's as if liberalism has degraded to a, go through the motions, whatever. Support identities, support personalities, and everything else, And so when I see this whole debacle of the defense secretary going AWOL for 4 days, and the response from the media and the Biden administration, it's almost as if, liberalism just hasn't gone to the point of insanity because what they believe has come up against reality, and reality is always going to win on a variety of issues. We know that they lie about everything, but now this almost gives an indication, when you think about, the Biden administration, I'm going on vacation. There's a big thing. Imagery means nothing. There's not a lot of substance, but even imagery to back any kind of toughness or whatever. For example, I saw the president out there yesterday saying, well, I'm talking to Israel about how they have to slow down. What does the president actually believe on Israel?
Right.
Nobody can tell you.
No.
Because he's all over the place on it.
He's trying to walk a fence, and if there's anyone that's horrible at walking a fence, it's Joe Biden.
On the border, they're all over the place on it.
Yeah.
Think about this. On every single issue, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Where do they really stand on? Now, we know what they want to do, but we're talking about when they actually promote what they wish to do. The only thing really that the left has been strong on is, hey, we're okay with the genocide of Jews.
Yeah.
That they seem to be very clear of, and defending plagiarism.
Yeah. Exactly.
But when you look at, the border, why won't they tell you the truth? When Karine Jean-Pierre came out the other day and says the Republicans keep voting against Border Patrol agents, they're giving you the impression that the Border Patrol agents are there to stop people from coming in the country. We know that's not the case. In fact, we know that Republicans have said, we're not going to give you more funding because if you can say you're going to hire Border Patrol agents, so if you hire 1,000 more Border Patrol agents or 5,000 and you simply make them not Border Patrol but Border Processing, no, we're not going to vote for it. But they can't tell you the truth of what they really believe.
Right.
But now there's this whole thing, with the president just going on vacation, doesn't really care. The world's burning, whatever. He just goes on vacation.
Right. Yep.
It doesn't remember how inconvenienced he was during Afghanistan. I'm going to go on vacation. And now with this whole, I almost said Lloyd Braun. I got in Seinfeld earlier. Lloyd Austin thing. It shows a complete lack of seriousness of the actual situation and the world that we live in right now. Was pointed out, hey, China's talking about, hey, we're going to invade Taiwan with Taiwan elections coming up. There's so much going on, and it's like there's almost like, we really don't care, and everything we tell you, we're going to lie to you about, and we're not really going to tell you what we want to do. Well, we'll tell you what we want to do, and then we'll back off on it. Look, for example, fossil fuels. We all know they want fossil fuels gone. Then why is the president bragging, falsely most of the time, about gasoline prices?
Right.
Obama did the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Even after he was president, Obama was talking about oil production. Hey, that happened during my presidency.
Right.
Like he was responsible for ramping. And we thought, okay, where's the activists screaming at that? If you're an activist and you want fossil fuels gone, then you want high prices, and you should be screaming at this president, his administration, for bragging about lowering prices.
Right. He was doing it again before they started going back up again.
Right.
A little. He's always making that comparison, and it's going back and forth. Well, we know that the Democrats want to get rid of all fossil fuels.
Yep.
They've let us know what their end goal is, and we... In that moment of honesty back in 2008, Obama made it clear, skyrocket electricity prices, skyrocket fossil fuel prices. So the other inconsistent forms of energy and or transportation will then be more palatable to the public because government has made it all more expensive.
Right.
Democrats, am I wrong anywhere here? No, I'm not wrong. It's exactly what's going on. And any idiot can see it. But now on top of it, we have an administration that says, okay, he'll sit there and pound the desk and everything else. And it's like, nobody pays attention because even when he pounds the desk, nobody views him as nobody views this administration as actually serious in the things that they want to do. Even on liberal passion. Well, if you're really passionate for liberal positions, you're going to defend it. Yeah. They should be out there very clear saying, no, we want as many people as possible to come into the United States of America. And no, if we are not going to take $14 billion just for border security, we need to process millions of people into the United States. It's what they believe. Why won't they say it? Because they know the American public is against it. So they view it and say, look, the American public are idiots. We can cover every position possible, do what we want. But the people that vote for us are complete and total morons. They don't have a clue what's going on. They're completely ignorant. And so we can get away with this. And for a significant period of time they have. Will they continue to get away with it?
Well, it's a good question. And in terms of, the pounding on the desk, this president's not capable of looking passionate. Instead, he looks confounded. And that's a very different look. He looks angry and confounded all the time. And it's not a good look. It's one thing to get into a speech and be passionate and to show your conviction. Where is his conviction? What does he believe in? What does he actually believe? We know what he's trying to do. We know what his administration is doing. What does he actually believe? Nobody knows that. I don't know that he knows it.
Well, there was a huge. Who had it yesterday? Let me see if I can find it. Biden talking about the border back in 2007, before he became vice president. Sounds like any conservative Republican who wants the border closed.
Right. Yeah. Right.
You would see no difference whatsoever.
Right.
And we knew they never believed that.
Right.
He was lying at the time. We knew they believed in open borders, and that's exactly what we got. But even back then, it's all based on lies.
Yep.
And you think about it, let's look at the Republicans. Trump on the issue. Do you think that Trump would really wish to do a lot more to close the border? There are some things that are up in the air. We don't know where Trump wishes to go on trade. We know where he went. He has covered most positions on that, as you've had most presidents on economic things. Remember Bush. Remember when the bailout? What was that he said? I'm going against my. Normally, I don't go against my principles or whatever
right.
It was. And
yeah.
It was like, well, no, then they're not principles.
Right, because you believe that that's the best thing to do. The things you believe in would be your options and your plan, your strategy during the worst of times.
Right, economic principles, but we all know that Trump truly is trying to figure out. And I think the reason he's held so many opinions is he doesn't know.
Exactly. No,
the reason Trump has held so many protectionist positions, but not actually fulfilled them. Some, yes, but many no, is because I don't believe he understands economics. And he doesn't know what to do.
And Biden's not capable.
Biden's not capable
Biden's
of
also not
anything, no.
fully incapable of taking any advice. The one thing we can say about Trump is that there's great indication during his presidency, his first term at least, that he listened.
Oh, yeah, he did. He did listen.
Biden is not capable of doing that.
That's a great point.
You're not going to tell Joe Biden, I don't care who you are. I don't think Joe Biden could give advice to Joe Biden.
Because he almost made it. He didn't say it, but he made the admission, okay, I don't trust the protectionist. Bring in a Larry Kudlow. Bring in a Steve Moore.
Otherwise they wouldn't have been there.
Right. And he did it when the real protectionist side of Navarro and Lighthizer was coming out, and then he brought those two aboard, and therefore, and it's interesting because you ask most Trump supporters, and they'll say, oh, no, he completely changed NAFTA. No, he didn't.
Right.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, very little was changed.
Very little was changed in NAFTA, and that was because of the push not to go as protectionist as he wanted. Now he's out there being as protectionist as you could possibly imagine when everybody is sensitive to prices, and he's saying 10% across the board tariffs on everything coming in. We're out of the WTO. And it's like, he won't do it. Why? Prices will skyrocket. It will affect him if he does it.
Right.
And everybody, and like we say, the fact that he's still promoting that is one of the dumbest political moves he's made.
Well, it makes you wonder who he thinks he's appealing to.
Well, he's still talking jobs, and the public is on prices.
Yeah, right.
That's where the disconnect is.
Right now, the job situation isn't number one.
Right.
Not even close.
It's prices.
Yep.
And he's saying, well, I'm going to give you more jobs by increasing prices. It's like, what?
Right.
But I think, but he's serious. He wants to figure out how to get it done, I believe, without question.
Well, and
he's
again,
a business. That's what he's always said.
There's a
He's
history
business
of
person.
showing that he's willing to listen
Yes.
to his advisors.
Yeah. And actually go search for different advisors.
Right.
As he did back then.
Biden does not have that ability, and it's very clear. As an individual, he's just not capable of doing that.
He's never, look, say what you want about Trump. He does have a wide business. He has done business for years. He has a much more critical thinking mind, and I think a curious mind, which he did then.
Yeah.
You know, when he brought Kudlow aboard, whatever, he had a curious, well, what are you guys saying on economics? You know, because you look at economics and go, that can be quite complicated. Right. And no politician, and the thing is, for example, Trump promoting tariffs, not tariffs, Trump promoting subsidies for ethanols. He knows it's wrong.
He said it.
Yeah, he said it's wrong. He knows it's wrong, but he said that's what will get me elected is using taxpayer dollars.
You can't get
to promote it.
You can't get the farmers' vote if you don't take that position.
Right.
That's what he said.
Now that's not a conservative position, and we shouldn't be doing that, and we can't be doing that with the budget situation that we're in. But at least I find him to be curious as to okay, what makes the whole thing run?
Right.
Biden's just completely clueless. He has no business experience. He has no idea what's going on anywhere.
No, not at all.
You could not have picked, even before his cognitive decline, you could not have picked a politician more ignorant about how things really run in the real world.
No, I think
Trump's
that's
been in the
accurate
real
statement.
world his entire life.
Yeah.
So he may be wrong on economic principles, but on some economic principles, but he knows how things are done in real life. He knows what you have to do as a business in real life. Biden's completely clueless.
Right.
He has no idea.
Nope.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Like the chief financial officer of any company, you have to be concerned about rising costs, especially without increases in revenue. Trying to reduce costs, let alone make sense of them, can be a complicated task. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. A penny saved could be $1,000 earned. Saving just 1 penny per mile over 100,000 miles driven annually will deliver $1,000 to the bottom line at the end of the year. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. This is really incredible because it's something that you and I have talked about before, and we'll get to it following the bottom of the hour. And we've always said that if government really wanted to save lives on automobiles, that you would cut the speed limit to 20 miles an hour.
Right.
They're actually doing it in Great Britain and Wales.
Yeah.
Over half of the roads are 20 miles an hour. And they want strict enforcement where if you even go 1 mile an hour over the 20 mile an hour speed limit, you're fined basically in American money $127 and get points on your license.
Yeah.
And the reason they give is safety and noise.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, 20 miles an hour, I mean, you might as well just get a bike, right?
Yeah, that's the... Well, we'll give you the specifics on it and some of the other things that is that going on, and because it's also part of an article I read that talked about what the rich believe the peons... how the rich believe the peons should be able to get around.
Well, let's face it, they shouldn't be able to. I'm sorry, are we still on the air?
Yes.
Sorry, that was in my outside billionaire voice. Yeah. Look, 20 miles an hour. What's the point
I know.
of even moving, of doing anything? 20 miles an hour. Unless it's a school zone, which is why I avoid school zones.
You know, my brother one time was riding his bicycle downhill, and it was like 35 miles an hour, and it was like 30 miles an hour, and he was going like 36, 37 down this hill. Cop pulled him over.
Oh, yeah. No, they will.
He just warned him. He goes, you know, you were going 37. He goes, yeah, and?
Yeah.
Speed limits. I'm on a bike, a bicycle, not a motorcycle.
Well, think about the e-bikes that everybody has now.
Yeah.
Those e-bikes can move.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, I got, there's so many things going on, and at times you're just like, I don't want to make everything I talk about the administration, but things are just so insane. But this was the thing on the whole civil rights thing with the president.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh. And reading the editorial from the New York Post. Whether it was senioritis or just a habit he just can't break after so many decades of getting away with it, President Biden, in what was supposed to be a major campaign address, repeated a lie he's already admitted isn't remotely true. Aiming to highlight the threat of white supremacy on Monday, he visited Bethel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, where Dylan Roof shot 9 black churchgoers dead in 2015. But he couldn't stop himself from claiming phony cred, insisting he had spent more time in the Bethel AME Church in Wilmington, Delaware, than most people I know, black or white, because that's where I started a civil rights movement. I mean, it's complete horse manure. Never happened. And he keeps repeating it. And then everybody laughed. I don't know if you knew about this. Everybody laughed.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, seriously.
Yeah. No, that's his defiance now. They're
right.
laughing at him. And because, I don't know, it was hard to read. Did the room think he was joking?
That's how I took it.
That's how I took
Yeah,
it.
that's how I took it, yeah.
And then, no, it's serious.
Right. It's like, how dare you? How dare you don't buy into my lie? He said, and it goes, no and no. This is a New York Post. No and no. He's pushed versions of that same baloney time and time again, even going as far to claim that he got arrested for his civil rights activism, only to see that debunked. Biden, for example, has said he attended civil rights organizing sessions at Wilmington's Union Baptist Church, yet congregants and the longtime assistant to the pastor at the time have said they don't recall him ever being there. And he himself has admitted he wasn't involved in the civil rights movement. Quote, I was not an activist, he confessed in 1987. I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else. Heck, his own vice president has slammed his history on racial issues. It was personally hurtful to hear Biden talk about the reputations of 2 United States senators who built their reputations and career on segregation of race, Kamala Harris lectured during the 2020 elections. Sorry. Okay, Biden lies compulsively about his past. He wasn't just raised in the black church, but also, and listen to this now, because these are all the things that he's come out with.
Yeah.
He wasn't just raised in the black church, but also in the synagogues in my state. And he was raised in the Puerto Rican community at home, politically. Oh, and he grew up in a Polish community. This goes to his utter insincerity on thundering about white supremacy now. Hell, he played the same basic card back in 2012, warning the Republicans, y'all want back in chains. Yes, he used the fake drawl when the GOP nominee was milquetoast Mitt Romney. His disastrous record leaves him hemorrhaging black support, so he's falling back on the lies that used to work for him. If it wasn't so disgraceful, it would be truly sad. So I just want to make sure I brought that up because it was just like that one just got by me the last couple of days just because there's been so much more insanity out there.
Yeah.
But it's important to bring that up. And that's the thing when people say Trump lies, then why did you stop counting when Biden became president?
Right. Oh, my gosh. But it's...
I can safely say now, without question, after 3 years, the Biden administration has lied a heck of a lot more than the Trump administration.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not even close.
Not even close. And but that's the kind of stuff where you're just like, stop it. You know, you weren't, because the lies he makes are so outrageous and can be so easily fact checked. That's the thing.
Well, and, you know, I said years ago, they behave as if the internet doesn't exist.
Yeah. You said that about, what?
Probably
13
13 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And for some reason, I want to say it was 2012, maybe. And that's how they behave. They, you know, especially anyone that you could categorize as establishment if they've been around for any amount of time. And Biden has been around for a lot amount of time. And you look at it and you say to yourself, well, why would he say it? Because in his mind, nobody's going to fact check you. When, of course, everybody's going to fact check you. And then you got to walk it back. Well, this is one he walked back years ago. Decades ago, he walked this back about being an activist. And yet, throws it out there again.
Goes right back to it, I know.
Well, because, and what makes the mind do that? I mean, seriously. But he's been telling, this is not, you can't say this is whatever's going on with him and any cognitive issues. It's not just that. Because it's not just now starting. The liberal media, in his first months in office, wrote about the bizarre set of lies Joe Biden has been telling for years. Years. And I guess if you're not capable of telling the truth, there is no truth to tell. Everything is a lie. So you just keep repeating these things when it works for you politically, when you think it's going to work for you. And you can't control it. His own campaign can't. The White House staff, they can't control what he's going to say. You put him in front of a microphone, and he's going to botch it. This was supposed to be a campaign speech. And we've been asking, well, how do you get on the debate stage? There's no way in hell you put him on a debate stage with anybody.
It will be interesting to see the State of the Union address. I think it's March 5th, I think it is.
Yeah, Super Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you see that guy from J.P. Morgan Chase saying that, predicting that he'll be out between Super Tuesday and the November elections.
Yeah.
He will cite illness.
Well, we saw that in 2020 as well. Remember, Cuomo was going to be the guy to step in. Cuomo might be the guy to step in now, right? He's back, or thinks he's back. I mean, all of this is up in the air. I don't know. That could be an accurate prediction, but I don't. The thing is that it's all highly unpredictable. So it could well be that, and I've always thought that if he steps down, he's going to cite illness. And I think if you look at it with the GOP and everything going on with Hunter and all of this, and if they got to a point where they got close and then anybody and everybody, I guess, could convince him to step down, and then all of a sudden, what do? Well, all of a sudden, the president's not feeling well, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, well, because of his health, I don't know. I don't put any money on any of these bets because I have no idea. His defiance only gets stronger. It's the one thing about him that is getting stronger every single day, and I don't know if that's a result of cognitive issues. It can be, but I don't know. I really don't know because you can't have someone campaigning like this over and over again. This is supposed to be a big campaign speech, and it's just all of a sudden you're picking up the pieces and having to step it back again, and he's having to go back and walk things back. But there's no way to explain this away. And then Austin, the thing with Austin. Austin thought he could get away with it. Why? That's what you have to ask yourself.
Because nobody cares.
Because nobody cares. Because nobody's in charge. The Secretary of Defense thought it was absolutely fine to say he's working from home when he's actually in the ICU.
Well, did he think, look, doesn't matter whether I tell him or not. He's clueless.
He's clueless. I could call him right now, and then the media, when he hangs up the phone, could ask him, who was that? That's that guy in charge of the outfit over there. And that is, by the way, the truth. But you have to ask yourself why the Secretary of Defense felt it was okay to just not tell anyone. Well, it's a very distinct possibility, maybe even probability, that he just felt like, well, nobody cares anyway. Nothing's going to happen. Because nobody's in charge. The commander-in-chief is not capable. Somebody's making calls. January 4th, that Thursday, that strike in Iraq happened how? Is that Jake Sullivan?
Well, that's a great point. Because my question is, the strike in Iraq was the defense. He was in ICU at that point.
Exactly.
So didn't anybody say, where the hell is the defense secretary?
Right. Who made that call? It's a go. Who said that?
Yeah, it had to be somebody inside. It wouldn't be Jake Sullivan.
I hope not.
Yeah, national security.
That's, I do that out there as an absurd, as an absurd point. Because
which of course, I had to take seriously because it's this administration.
Well, no,
so
because you're thinking, oh, well, no, it can't be him. Well, yeah, it can. In this White House, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. Who ordered the strike?
Who ordered that strike?
And was the defense secretary in the loop?
Right.
Did the president even know that the strike was happening at that point?
Which goes back to the question you were asking the day before that Wednesday, our first day back from Christmas break, because the strikes on the Iran proxies. Well, you put all that together, and now we know. But that strike in Iraq was not a small thing. And it wasn't an ongoing mission, by the way. I mean, certainly the intel gathering and all that is part of an ongoing mission. But at some point, somebody with authority had to say, it's a go. Who was that?
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, the part of Great Britain that, and this is slowly gaining momentum in Great Britain, to have extremely slow speed limits.
Listen.
Extremely slow.
We don't need to be getting there so fast. Everyone's
Why are we
slow
in a
down.
hurry?
Why?
If I went 20 miles an hour instead of the 70
Yeah.
into work every day, which is the speed limit, I want to make clear.
You'd have to leave at about 7 p.m., but that's okay. It's fine. You'd lose a lot of sleep, but it's okay.
If I had to go 20 miles an hour,
Yeah.
it probably would take me about, let me see, about 3 hours to get into work.
It would take me the same because I actually go around 20 to 30 miles an hour because I live close. A true story.
Well, it wouldn't take you the same.
No, that's about what I average. The speed I average here is between 20 and 30 miles an hour.
But it wouldn't take you the same amount of time.
Yeah, it wouldn't be much different because I don't go very fast. I'm not on the highways.
If you go 20 miles an hour from 2 miles away, it's not going to take you 3 hours to get here.
You talk about the same amount of time it would take you. I'm talking about the same amount of time it wouldn't change my level of
it
commute.
wouldn't change it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Good morning. Here we are, middle of January. It's going to get cold here.
We're actually going to get some winter weather. I mean,
At least
doesn't
cold
look
weather.
like precipitation, but it temperature-wise is going to feel more like winter. Yeah.
13 or 14 degrees by next Monday night here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be in Florida over the weekend.
And Sunday night, also, same thing.
16? So when I get in about 7:30, probably be about, it'll be below freezing.
Yeah, my neighborhood says 13. So
For Sunday night?
13 Sunday night and 12 Monday night.
Okay. Then it keeps changing.
Well,
Every couple of hours, it seems like we go back and it changes.
and when we get into that below freezing, hard freeze zone Sunday night into Monday morning, it won't get above freezing until sometime Tuesday afternoon.
Well, that means Thursday. I've moved it back to Thursday. Thursday, we shut down the pool. We don't close it. We drain all the water above ground. We let everything dry out. I am not going to pay $4,000 to get it all repaired again, as I had to when because when you live down here, if it gets below freezing, just the anti-freeze thing kicks in. The water moves throughout the system, and then we had Frizola in February of 21 when the power went off, and I had about $4,000 of damage to my pool. And, of course, my deductible on my home insurance is
$4,000?
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's easier just to take out 2 screws and a drain Just take it out. The water drains out. It's like, okay, I'm done.
Yep.
I mean, now I got to make sure there's enough chlorine. But, I realized that when that happened, anybody who has a pool would understand this. What a pain in the butt. But when
I know all too well.
But when my whole pool, you could not get in February of 21, when that happened, there were so many pools across the state of Texas because nobody really closes down their, nobody closes their pool like they do in the north. Where you put a cover over, you shut it down. You just let the machinery run. And it's got the antifreeze thing on, which simply circulates the water because you're not going to be below zero that much. And I did that for the first, 15 years or 14 years in the house. And then the Friezola came along and the power went out. Well, that would have been February. It would have been, everything stopped on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Back then. And I didn't get my pool back up working because you could not get parts anywhere. Remember that?
Right, yeah.
Because it was like the entire state of Texas. Everybody's pool couldn't find anything. I found it on my own, but I didn't get it fully repaired till May, middle of May. So I'm telling you that and I didn't I didn't drain the pool. I couldn't drain the pool. I wouldn't have been able to drain the pool if I wanted to.
Right.
And so the last thing I wanted, and I kept it from going green for 3 months. Initially I had an oar. I was taking an oar to move the water around with the chlorine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
And then I took 2 sump pumps and put the sump pumps in. And then I found a battery-operated, vacuum skimmer and made my own filter, because their filter they had stunk. And I forgot how I made but I made a filter. And I would just put that in the pool, and I had 2 lithium-ion batteries, and each one would run for 45 minutes, just trying to filter stuff out of the pool.
Yeah.
But, I did everything, and it never went green. So that was... I don't want to go through that again, ever again.
No.
Ever.
No.
So we'll shut it down on Thursday, and then I don't have to worry when I'm out of town. All right, you ready?
All right, what do you got?
All right, so John Fund, great writer, now writes with National Review. He's written for so many different publications over the years. Just a great writer. Looking at what's going on, he goes, if you want to predict what the next steps in the progressive war on the private automobile will be in the United States, look to elite public opinion. Electric vehicle fanatics have pushed 9 states into mandating zero-emission cars in the next few years. New York City will be charging a congestion fee in Manhattan in May. In a new poll commissioned by the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, Scott Rasmussen has just surveyed 1,000 members of what he calls the elite 1% of Americans, namely those who have a postgraduate degree, live in dense urban areas, and earn more than $150,000 a year. In short, they are the people who frequently wield disproportionate influence over ideas and public policy. Their views on personal freedom and mass consumer choices are frightening. An astonishing 72% want to ban gas-powered cars. 58% want to block SUVs. Among all Americans, between 70 and 83% oppose both such bans, depending on what the poll you're looking at. If you want to look at what elites have in store for drivers, look to Britain, where the anti-car lobby is even more powerful, just so you know what's coming down the pike. Britain has banned all sales of new gas or diesel cars starting in 2035 and has expanded its $15 a day congestion tax for older cars to the entire London metropolitan area. Now this month, drivers in Wales will face steep punishments for going above 20 miles per hour on many roads. That can only be the beginning. There are plans to expand the number of 20-mile-an-hour roads in Scotland and 5 regions in England. In London, well over half the roads already have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. A parliamentary committee made up of members from all political parties has issued a, you ready for this? Quote, road justice, end of quote, report, calling for drivers to be heavily fined if they even go 1 mile an hour over the posted speed limit. Remember, in London, over half the roads are already 20 miles an hour, and it's expanding all throughout Great Britain. If you go 1 mile an hour over, they want to heavily fine you. Only then, it says, will people feel safe enough to go walking, cycling, or scootering. Britain's Automobile Association points out that speed cameras can't possibly be trusted to be accurate within 1 mile an hour. Plus, it says, if people are too paranoid about going 1 mile an hour or 2 miles an hour above the speed limit, that's not conducive to road safety. Having to stare nonstop at the speedometer could prevent the driver from being able to see a cyclist or a pedestrian. Angry protests in Wales have forced the government to concede that no one faces prosecution now unless they are going 26 miles per hour or higher.
Which means
which
you
would
can
be,
go 25.
Which would be 6 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Right.
Below that, drivers can still be pulled over for guidance. Punishments will start in American dollars at $127 for each incident, plus 3 points on the driver's record. Now, why are they doing this? To save lives and reduce noise. Public anger is still high over the new speed limits. The Daily Express has interviewed drivers who say they can't drive up steep hills or transport farm animals long distances because of the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. Other drivers claim that there is more environmental damage when they drive at higher revolutions in lower gears as they go up or down steep hills. You put it in a lower gear and you're causing more pollution by driving slower. We're supposed to be fighting against that. A report commissioned by the Welsh government itself concedes that the new speed limit would cost the economy more than $6 billion a year. The Daily Telegraph quotes Phil Mullen, a pharmacist, who says the lower limit affects how many prescriptions he can deliver daily. Where before we were able to get all the deliveries out in one day with a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, now we can't because we have to drive slower. Deliveries for stock from our wholesale drug manufacturers are coming an hour later than before. Another Welsh driver supports lower speed limit in front of schools and hospitals, but says if you're driving at 20 miles an hour on a normal road, it's causing mayhem. Congestion has got worse. I don't think there's many people for it around here, and the buses are late too because they have to go 20 miles per hour also. The reason we find this so incredibly interesting and laughable is we said this a long time ago.
Yeah.
We said, well, look, if you want to stop people from dying on the roads, put in a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit.
There's a way to do that. Yeah.
You'll save 20,000 lives a year.
Mm-hmm.
That we can save lives if there's no risk or if you greatly reduce the risk because you lower speed. I don't see that happening anytime in Texas.
No. Bull haulers out west in West Texas. I think their speed limit is 120. I could be wrong.
Mark Drakeford, the leader of the Welsh government, announced last month he was stepping down. Critics claim the move is partly due to the opposition his speed limit law has stirred up.
Mm-hmm.
We told you these people are crazy.
Well, I mean,
they're absolutely crazy.
Again, they got pushback on the going 1 mile an hour over. Okay, fine, then we'll do 6 miles an hour over. Well, wait a minute. No. I mean, I know you're going to still pull them over for guidance. What's that going to be? Counseling? Going to get some roadside counseling as everybody else slowly rolls by?
Well, the cop is allowed to go 27 to catch you.
Exactly. Well, so you're abandoning your principle of where you think that safe speed is. Okay, you won't have to pay until you're doing 26.
So make it 15 and get him for going 21.
Exactly. Make it 10.
Oh.
Get him for going 12.
I'm telling you, we could be good liberals.
8. Why are we even driving cars?
We should be walking everywhere.
We should be walking.
And riding your bicycle. It's much healthier.
Truck drivers can just carry backpacks.
Yes, carry backpacks.
Yeah. Push carts filled with things.
We've never talked
If
about...
it saves just one life.
I mean, I could see a lot of our drivers out there, instead of driving, and I'm sure they could see themselves pushing wheelbarrows.
Right. Exactly. Horse and buggy. Not a fast horse, though.
Well, the roads could get awful messy.
I was going to say, and be careful what you, because now it goes back to Seinfeld again. Be careful what you feed the horse, too. No canned foods.
Frosty! Frosty!
I mean, how far we want to take this?
No beefaroni.
No beefaroni for the horses. But this is the absurd thing, though. This is it. And by the way, the tourism's going to plummet. I'm sorry. It's going to take me 2 weeks just to get around London. I don't have enough time to tour London.
Hey, is there any, just figuring that side of the world, is there any thought to lowering the speed limit on the Autobahn to 20?
No.
Oh, please do that.
Yeah.
Please, 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 please do that.
Yeah. I had a friend who used to test cars for car companies. And when he was in that area, he could drive on the Autobahn. And I said, well, what's that like? He said, it's just like an open range.
Well,
You just go.
it's fun on the Autobahn.
Exactly. And he would be driving a car that he's not responsible for. He's testing for one of the OEMs over there. At times he would test for, I can't say the name of the company, but it rhymes with Mercedes. And he would be on, or BMW or something. He would be on the Autobahn and open it up. We got to slow it down. We need to save lives. The Autobahn needs to come down to 10 because we need to overcompensate for all the high rate of speed that they have been out for all these years. So we need to lower it to 10. 5. What is a school zone in London like? 0? Just stop until the school zone time thing runs out. Everybody put it in park.
Nobody's allowed to go down the road.
You just close the roads.
Because I'm thinking the only place I ever see 20 miles an hour is in school zones.
Right.
Yeah,
Which makes sense. You got kids walking and, you can't see them. They're, smaller and you don't always see them. They don't always pay attention to what they're doing. I mean,
not in my elementary school. No kids walk home anymore.
Oh, we have, but they're walking when the parents drop them off. There's not even enough room inside the school zone. I mean, I don't know about your school, but every school in our district, it's the same thing. It's so crowded in the morning, they park on my street.
Oh, yeah. You should see.
And they have to walk their kids down to the school, which is across the street, because there's no parking.
Oh, see what?
Yeah, the drive-through line is jammed. You're never going to get your kid there on time in the drive-through.
What I see is that there are 3 across. It looks like a NASCAR race about to start.
Right.
In front of the school entrance.
Yeah.
And they got the pylons and the cops are there, and there's like And it goes all the way back, all the way around an entire block of people waiting to pick up their kids. But when every time I go by, I laugh because it looks like a NASCAR race about to start.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's insane. And you can't so you can't see these kids that are crossing the street. It makes sense, of course. Of course you have to slow down. But now you're talking about a number of things. Commerce. How many people take public transportation? The majority of people in London use public transportation on a regular basis.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
Check out all the latest in news, events, trucking information, and podcasts at Red Eye Radio's website at redeyeradioshow.com. That's redeyeradioshow.com.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just interesting to see, though, 20 miles an hour. And we knew this was eventually going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
Now, what about trains? Will they still be high speed, or will trains have to go to 20 miles an hour?
I don't know. How can you have high-speed rail?
Yeah.
What about the subways in London? They go faster than 20.
Yeah. They produce noise, right?
A lot of noise, I'm sure. I know it's underground, but it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm in high-speed trains, too.
Yeah. So, look, everyone just stop going everywhere. And quit buying things. You don't need things delivered every day.
Well, okay, so what you're suggesting is permanent lockdowns.
Pretty much.
Well, you think about
If it saves just one life.
If everybody worked from home and nobody went out and everything was delivered, we could save tens of thousands of lives from infectious diseases.
Can't deliver it. Nobody can go out to deliver it.
Well, you drop it at the door.
You have to walk it there.
Gary McNamara and Eric Harley taking your calls. 1-866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Republicans in Congress want to do something about things on the road that move less than 20 miles per hour.
Yeah?
Senator Tom Tillis and Marsha Blackburn unveiled legislation on Monday that would make blocking a public road a federal crime.
Oh.
Tillis and Blackburn proposed the Safe and Open Streets Act after many protesters sympathetic towards Palestinians intentionally blocked roads and highways across the country. Blocking major roads to stop traffic flows is nothing short of lawlessness and should not be tolerated, Blackburn said in a written statement. These activists are not only intentionally creating a dangerous situation for themselves, but perhaps for a citizen who is awaiting an ambulance or a hard worker who will lose their job for being late. The Safe and Open Streets Act is critical to stopping this reckless behavior, particularly by Hamas sympathizers in our U.S. cities, she added. Here's the problem. There's no federal enforcement for this kind of thing. There's a federal enforcement coming. Not going to use the FBI.
No.
It's a local.
You would give authority to local and state, like the FMCSA gives the authority to
which they already
state.
They already have the authority.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
they
if it's
choose
a state law, yeah.
Right,
they can already do that.
But there is.
But they would be charged with a federal crime.
Right, but there is no state. But if they're not arresting anybody, if you're using them, if the federal government is going to use locals who aren't enforcing it to begin with, because the politicians that are the bosses of these law enforcement say, no, you're not going to. It's against state law. I don't know any state where it is not against the law to block a public road.
Right.
They choose not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They choose not to enforce it. We know that when was it when they tried to block I-35 here in Texas? Was that Occupy Wall Street? No, that was December 2020.
Yeah.
And that stopped real quick.
Yep.
They were off. They were gone.
Dallas police chief said,
they
nope.
Right. This is a local issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because
even if they were to give the authority, like the FMCSA gives the authority to states, there has to be federal funding that goes into that state for, in the case of the FMCSA, commercial vehicle enforcement. And so state officials enforce the FMCSA rules for interstate travel. In this case, you would have to assign the same budget for that enforcement for those departments.
Right, but there is no the difference is here that these local law enforcement organizations are not enforcing the law now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The states and the localities, the cities, don't wish to enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
If the federal government comes in,
there's no will to do that now.
Every time I look at these terrorist supporters blocking roads, every single one has been in a liberal city in a liberal state.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry. There's laws on the books that they will not enforce. These cities and these states wish that terrorist supporters should be able to block our roads.
Mm-hmm. They're letting them do it.
They want them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the federal government...
They have the authority to stop that now.
Yeah, and they choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you choose to elect a government that will not enforce the law, sorry. I don't know what else to say. I saw the one in L.A. where the people are getting out of the cars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And there were altercations.
Yeah.
And they were moving these people.
Yeah.
The one guy was saying, the guy got out of his car, the guy started, he pushed him, he took him, threw him to the ground.
Yep.
And said, get the hell out of the road.
Mm-hmm. And when he drove through, they stepped aside.
Yep. And that's what's going to, but understand these liberal localities want terrorist supporters to block the roads of the citizens of that city and state trying to do whatever business they're attempting to do, that legal business they're trying to do that day. The state and the local government understand this, they want terrorist supporters to destroy your day by blocking your roads. Federal government getting involved is not going to change any of that.
Well, and also, what authority would they have if it's not an interstate?
Great point, yeah.
If it's a city street or a state highway, what authority does the federal government have? And would that law withstand?
Yeah, I don't think they have any authority in there.
I don't think in that situation they would.
But it's not needed, because in any of those cities, any cities that are going to stop it from happening, they don't need the federal government.
Right. And how would you force local? I mean, you could talk about withholding federal funds on interstates for repairs. That's not going to get you anywhere.
No. They'd look at those liberal states would look at that as a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
Look, they don't care about you see, California, they completely delusional. I was laughing the other day, when it was like, okay, now illegal immigrants get medical care, including gender reassignment surgery. And I'm like,
right.
Go ahead. You don't have the money.
Right.
Do all this stuff. You don't have the money. Go ahead.
Right.
And so if you decide to live in such an irresponsible state, well, then you need to deal with the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Federal government can't be taking care of all these things. It's not their jurisdiction.
No.
So with all due respect to the Republicans, stop it.
Well,
you can bring it up.
Think about it. The FMCSA, you're talking about interstate not intrastate
Right.
trucking. And that's different because they're crossing state lines. It becomes a federal issue at that point
Yes.
because you're talking about the movement of goods between the states. So that is federal jurisdiction. There would be none here unless they were trying to, if they were to write something that said, well, it's interstates, and if you don't do this and enforce it locally, we're going to withhold funding for interstate projects, expansion, repairs. That's not going to get you anywhere. Politically, that's not a winner.
No. The problem is these states don't want to do it.
Right.
The states and the cities where they are blocking and continue to do it, and there's not mass arrests where there's a consequence for it.
Well, Dallas is the perfect example in the summer of 2020.
Yeah.
You would think because there are major metro areas, all these blue areas, and they're controlled by Democrats, and Dallas is no different, except for the fact that the people of Dallas aren't going to tolerate that. And the police chief at that time knew. You have one shutdown of one freeway in the Dallas area, and especially where they were.
Oh, yeah.
It's over.
Right on I-35 going through Dallas.
Every major news organization is going to be reporting the traffic jam.
Yep.
And a traffic jam that doesn't go away because you allow it? No.
Nope.
Not going to work. But in those other areas, they let it happen all the time. And you can ask them why they let it happen. Where are the locals screaming this shouldn't happen?
Yeah. It's happening because they believe that it is politically advantageous for them to allow it to continue to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So Tillis and Blackburn propose the Safe and Open Streets Act after the Hamas sympathizers around the country. But as I saw, everyone I saw was in a liberal state. Now this one wasn't. I didn't see this one. The two incidents where protesters blocked the Durham Freeway in Durham, North Carolina during rush hour, stranding drivers. Protesters in December blocked airport access roads to New York City and Los Angeles. Those are the ones I saw. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it in in North Carolina. Now, what happened in North Carolina after it happened would be my question.
Right.
Do they clear?
How long did that last? Right.
Yeah. How long did it last? Right. I mean, I've seen repeated attempts in New York City and L.A.
We saw the attempt here in Dallas, So, yeah.
From Hamas supporters?
No.
Oh, no,
back,
no.
The one we referred to back
right, but I'm
in
talking
the summer of 2020.
Right, but I'm talking about the Hamas supporters here. Mm-hmm. The only place now the Durham Freeway in Durham, North Carolina. I'd like to see what the response was in North Carolina to that and whether it has happened again or repeatedly happened.
Yeah, right.
But these, you and I said a long time ago, who the hell these people think that they are? They can walk out into a freeway.
Well, and
shut it down.
The cause changes everything. Now they're blocking roadways to promote their anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Whoa. Now, summer of 2020, it was still that we weren't talking about justice at all, but it was a different cause. Now they're blocking the roadways to promote their own anti-Semitism.
And support of Hamas terrorism.
Yeah.
And the genocide of Jews.
Exactly.
And still you don't see those local cities or states saying,
nope,
this stops
they're allowing
now.
It. They're allowing it.
See, I don't care what it is if I'm governor of a state. I don't care what causes. You don't block
You
roads.
don't do that.
You don't get to block
You
roads.
want to go down to City Hall, fine. You want to do that, and
you want to get a permit?
Need a permit.
You want to get a permit? Go ahead.
Great. You do it lawfully?
Yep.
Great.
Nobody, if I'm governor or mayor, nobody shuts down my city. Nobody shuts down my state. Nobody shuts down the roads.
Nope.
Nobody.
Right.
Unless it's the normal construction crew.
Yeah, well, of course.
Here in Texas, it's 24/7.
Yeah, pretty much. You want to talk about moving slowly.
Quickly, let's go to Bob in Pennsylvania, about 20 miles an hour, as we talked about earlier. Great Britain looking at that as a speed limit. Hi, Bob. Welcome.
How you doing, sir? I just wanted to inform you, in the city of Hoboken, New Jersey, they've got a lot of bicyclists and people on scooters. They lowered the speed limit to 20 miles an hour in the city limits. And the police do not enforce the traffic laws with the cyclists or the people on scooters. They fly right through stop signs, red lights, you name it, and the police don't enforce it. So you're constantly watching, so you're not running someone over. I deliver frozen food to grocery stores, and I'm in Hoboken a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because when I was brought up, and my dad, thanks so much for your call, was a bicycle racer, but he always said, you follow the rules of the road on a bicycle. I mentioned earlier my brother getting pulled over one time for breaking the speed limit going down a hill. It's like, no, it applies to you too. It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I still, when cyclists aren't going single file, and they 3 or 4 cross the road, that's illegal.
Right. Yep.
You're not supposed to be doing that.
Right. And it's very difficult to pull them over.
Yeah.
You want to talk about, okay, now you're disrupting traffic and it's getting worse. So I don't know what you do about that.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. I got to do some research. I just wonder, we know that in the liberal states, again, they're not going to crack down on people blocking the roads, but I really wonder, using that example of Durham, North Carolina, what happened when they blocked the roads there. I got to do some research on that one, because that's the one thing. If it happens once and you break it up within a half hour,
yeah,
it's like, and the police are out there in full force, and you put out the word, you'll be arrested. You will be arrested. You will be charged. This is you cannot do that in this town. And I don't believe that's happening in the liberal cities. But we haven't had. Has there been one incident anywhere in Texas of that?
I don't know of any.
I have not heard of one.
I mean, if it would have happened, I'm guessing Austin, maybe Houston.
Houston. I didn't hear it happening there. Because every time it happens, it does make the news. It is publicized. Because it is, come on, it's about terrorist sympathizers blocking the roads. As you said, it's a different topic.
Yeah, it's a totally different cause.
Yep.
And so it will be interesting to see where this goes, though.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right, I did some research here. It didn't take long. We're talking about the fact that you've got a couple of Republicans, Marsha Blackburn and Tom Tillis, proposing a bill to make blocking public roads a crime. And I had said, well, the majority of places I've seen it have been in liberal localities, liberal states, liberal cities, and they seem to be fine with it. and pointed out that there was, because Tillis is from, of course, North Carolina, that it happened in North Carolina, in Durham. From what I can see, it only happened once, November 2nd. That's what I get on Google. It might have happened more, but when I look on Google for the national stories, it only comes up on November 2nd. And there you had just about 50. That's all. It wasn't a great – there were a lot of people surrounding it, but only about 50 people blocking the road, maybe even less than that. And I think the problem was the police got there, said there's a problem at 6 o'clock. They didn't clear it till almost 2 hours later. You could have cleared it. It looks like from what here, you could have cleared that in 5 minutes. Nobody was arrested, nothing. You had the Republicans come out extremely furious about this, and Democrats saying, well, North Carolina, because of its policy on LGBTQ, is just about as bad as Hamas anyway. So, yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's going to work. That's
Why not?
So it was. So I mean, the police said there was a problem at 6. Now there might have been a problem before 6 o'clock, but when you look at it, and that's why people were probably furious. You said, well, why didn't police remove people at that point? But it hasn't happened again, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes. What communication with that group came from police afterwards. So, but yeah, but the fact of having a national law to make blocking a public road a crime, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I look.
It's not going to make a difference.
Raising a discussion about it goes nowhere even.
No.
Normally if you want to put the other side on record, well, here, the other side is already on record. There's really no political gain to this move. It's going to get down to these cities and states.
Because part of the problem is the police chief said in Durham, North Carolina, that the first priority was to reroute the affected traffic and manage commuters instead of just saying, get off the road and let traffic continue.
Right.
That's the problem. Now, it didn't happen. From what I can see, it didn't happen again, and one wonders if the pressure was put on it after that point not to allow it to happen.
Right, yeah.
But if you have a liberal city inside of us and they wish to do it, that's the government that you have put in.
Yeah.
And so the federal government getting involved in it and Congress passing a law, it's not going to matter a hill of beans. There is no federal agency to clear the roads. No. And if the local police, if the state police and the local police aren't going to enforce the law as written, and it's a state law that you can't block a road, and they allow that to happen, those are the elected officials that you have decided will make your state a better state to live in.
Right.
And having the federal government come in will not change that at all because there's nobody left to enforce it. Who's going to enforce it?
No. Look, it's also a very fluid situation. These protests happen, they make the news, the protesters kind of move on to another area. They find a hot spot, they get into it, they make the news, they make the noise. That's what they're looking to do. Then by the time you get something done, they might even be on to their next cause. The state of Texas did something about it. They enacted a law. It makes it a state felony, punishable by jail, if you block a highway that is access to a hospital, or if emergency vehicles are using their lights. You can't block those emergency vehicles. And otherwise, it makes it a misdemeanor, but still punishable by jail. So, we haven't seen a lot of that here in Texas. I was doing some research during the break as well, and there just haven't been, on any of the causes in the last few years, there haven't been a lot. Just a handful. And the protesters are only looking to make the news.
Well, and that's because we're in a state of perpetual traffic jams, so you wouldn't know the difference.
They could be walking between cars. I'm thinking they're panhandling. Sorry, I don't have any money for you. Yeah. I wouldn't notice any difference at all. If you want to stop traffic, you're going to have to get in line. There's plenty of people already stopping traffic.
It's like
for good reasons, supposedly.
Now, I think what happened was it was during the summer 2020, they were doing it at night. So they weren't doing it at 5 o'clock.
It was because when the story started breaking, it was evening. It was past peak traffic time. Because otherwise, you don't want to jump out on any of those highways downtown during traffic time because it's either moving at a quick pace or it's already shut down for traffic reasons.
I had a blowout about 2 months ago going home. And this was on the tollway that I'm going the opposite way on the tollway.
Yeah, right.
Speed limit 70 miles an hour. I'm so glad, that I could have called my insurance but I ended up calling the tollway repair because they're there real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And they put on the new spare and everything else. I was on my way. It's frightening as hell. I'm telling you this. Yeah. I am not getting into the professional road protester business.
No.
I mean.
Well, no, I have my granddaughters, my oldest grandchildren are driving. My oldest has her own car now. The twins are about to get their cars, and I'm telling them, I don't care what the situation is. You get a flat tire, you need to get off the highway.
Yeah.
It's frightening. Because and that's things that people may not see you. It's not safe. I'll buy you a new wheel if the car will still move. Turn your hazards on, get over on the shoulder, and get off the highway as soon as you can, if you can.
Yeah, luckily I had there's a big shoulder, and I got out of the car, and I stayed on I was sitting on the
on the wall.
I was on a raised surface,
right? Yeah.
So it was a raised highway.
Yeah,
so
that wall, that zone that and I think that's for emergencies.
Yeah.
It's a big on that tollway is a pretty wide.
But it wasn't that crowded. But especially in the raised highway, you forget about how you can feel the highway moving when cars are going across.
Yeah,
it's like
scary.
Whoa! Everybody's going 75 to 80,
dark.
And it's dark, and you're just like whoa. Yeah. And I had lights. I got the electric flares. Those little, and so I look like a I don't know, Trans-Siberian Orchestra on the side of the road.
Is this a concert?
But then again, when they pull up like 50 feet behind you in case somebody hits them.
Yeah.
That it won't come, that you have a second or two before it hits your car.
Yeah.
They packed, I said, you parking back that far? And yeah, and they've got the huge signs on the back. They've got the repair trucks on the tollway. They're huge.
Yeah.
And it directs you, and it's still, they don't want to take a chance. But, yeah, it's dangerous as heck. I will not be in that business of shutting down any highway in Texas.
No, thanks.
Now, if you go over to Great Britain where it's 20 miles an hour, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. Why not?
Where they're enacting the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit now. Yeah, I'll do that one.
Well, if you went out there, you might help speed up traffic.
Trying to get around me. It's like, get around the protesters. Hit the gas.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. This is interesting. A couple of one poll here. Not a couple of polls, but a poll. This is looking at and I have no idea. We're a week away from Iowa.
Right. Yeah, less than a week now.
And it looks like
a week from right now we'll be going over the Iowa numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we know, for example, for the most part, where all the primaries are going. I have no idea what's going to happen in the general election.
Right,
no,
right,
I wouldn't even attempt to guess on that one. On the issues, I know who should win.
Yeah,
Republicans should win in a landslide if it was only about the issues, but it's not. It's about personalities.
Yeah, right.
For rightly or wrongly, and I could sit there. I could I could cry, I could whine, I could wish it was different, but it's not.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But if it was strictly on the issues and people voted on the issues based on where the consensus of the pollings are, the Republicans would win in a landslide because people look at where the Democrats stand on the issues and go, you're nuts. Look at this here. 65% of likely voters see what's going on at the southern border. They asked the question this way, as an invasion. Now, that's interesting because when you use that term, the left goes crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a hot
That is a hot
term. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so you can say, well, is it, for example, you look at it, an invasion and say, okay, what normally comes to mind? What normally comes to mind is you have another country and an army invade you.
Yeah, Red Dawn. Yeah.
Yes, very good.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
It really bothers me where the guy has a Second Amendment, you'll only get my gun if you take it from my cold dead hand, and the Cuban soldier takes it from his hand.
Yeah.
I don't like that part of it.
I didn't like that at all.
Okay,
I didn't like that at all.
I want to make sure if we dislike the same one.
Yeah.
But yeah, 65% of likely voters see what's going on at the southern border as an invasion. Nearly 2/3 of likely voters describe events at the southern border as an invasion. 65%. Including 43% who say the description is very accurate. The other 23%, accurate. Only 31% disagree, including 15% who think it's not at all accurate to call the situation on the U.S.-Mexican border an invasion. On top of that, 70% consider border security a vital national security interest for the United States. Only 17% disagree. 13%, oh no. 72% regard the open border as a crisis. Only 20% think differently. And so you can sit there and you can go through the definition of the word. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
By using the word invasion and having 65% of likely voters, the point we're trying to make is that's extremely damning for the administration, especially when everybody knows they're not trying to do anything about it.
It's a hot button term.
Yeah.
And you can't change that fact. Politically, there's, and again, we, like you said, we could go through and ask, okay, how do you define invasion? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. No.
It's a negative term on the left. And so if you're at 65% saying it's an invasion,
that means you've got the majority of independents and probably 40% of Democrats that agree with it. In order to get to that number,
right,
you would probably need to get that.
Right.
Which is a huge problem for Democrats.
Yep. Well, this is why, everything that's playing out in Chicago and New York City and all these other areas where they're being sent to, all that's important. Because everybody needs to know this problem's been going on for a long time. It's only getting worse, and every town is a border town, including your town.
Yeah. And small towns. I was reading a couple of articles on vacation about small towns where all of a sudden, but, towns of 1,000 people.
Right.
And all of a sudden, 300 people show up on a bus that the federal government is dropping off in those cities in the rural areas.
Right.
Just dropping them off, going, okay, you're here.
And there's no resources there.
None.
None.
Zero resources. Nobody's talking about how that's inhumane treatment, are they?
Exactly.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous material shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, The top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log general form and manner and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I thought that was fascinating. 65%. What was that? 65% of likely voters accurately see invasion at the southern border. That's a problem for the administration.
Yeah.
What was the thing? I remember I said I want to go back to it.
Oh, young people in China.
Oh, yeah. I just thought it was interesting that you would.
Yeah. The Wall Street Journal. Let me see if I still have it up. Yeah. It's a slideshow. At an interesting story that goes along with this slideshow from China. China's youth are quitting the rat race to, quote, let it rot, end quote, by Shen Lu. And this is at, again, Wall Street Journal. And it's interesting because they go through this, equation with young people, including this one lady that they focus on. She's 24 years old. Found her new job at a technology startup. And then she said she has no desire to climb the corporate ladder. They're quiet quitting in China, especially when the number of high-paying Chinese tech jobs is shrinking, right? So then you get to and I'm skipping a couple of them because they don't apply to the main story and the point of the story. Demoralized by a weak economy, unfulfilling jobs, and a paternalistic state, young Chinese are looking for pathways out of the carefully scripted lives their elders want for them. All right, so you get to the point, this is what's interesting here. These young people studied diligently to get into prestigious universities, clocked grueling hours at fast-growing companies, and followed traditional expectations of career and family, riding China's boom to material success. And they point out a lot of these folks, a lot of these young people are experiencing a slowdown for the first time in a while because so far in their young lives, there's been a lot of boom. We'll expand more on this and why the Chinese government thinks this could be a threat coming up.
Call in and get a word in edgewise. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I think when you talk about that story in the Wall Street Journal about what's happening to youth into China, sort of the China quiet quitting.
Yeah.
Look, it's not surprising that anything that would take place here, because you think about this, the lockdowns happened even worse in countries like China.
Well,
in many different places.
In fact, they point to that. The young people say that in China, their lockdowns were so strict. And I thought, well, it's the same effect, right? So you've had these lockdowns, and they're coming out of their lockdowns, and now they're going, okay, but there's no way to succeed. Because many of these young people have really kind of been in China, on this uptick ride until recently, until the effects of COVID and everything else that's going on with the global economy. And they're looking at it and going, okay, our restrictive governments, the lockdowns were way too strict. The economy's slowing down. It doesn't feel like I'm going to be able to make anything happen. Record youth unemployment that topped 21% this year has further dented the confidence and traditional paths to achievement in China. Again,
what was that again? What was that figure?
21%, over 21% for those in the age group of 16 to 24.
That's the unemployment rate?
Yeah.
Wow.
For that group, youth unemployment.
Okay.
And so that's it. So they're looking at it going, okay, in that age group, all right, I've done everything I'm supposed to do. Done everything you told me to do. You know, I went to school, studied hard, and now things are slowing down, and that's more than 1 out of every 5 in that age group is unemployed. Many are quitting their jobs and turning to meditation and other forms of spirituality. Others are flooding fortune teller stands and Buddhist temples in mountainous areas, or exploring Chinese and Western philosophers and writers. Again, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Some are moving from China's megacities to start lives anew in places like Dali, a southwestern city famous within China as a hub for digital nomads and dropouts. I don't know what a digital nomad is. Communist Party leaders have long worried young people could stir unrest as they did in 1989. The party needs young people to get on board with Beijing's priorities, not just to keep the economy humming, but to help make China stronger in an era of great power competition with the U.S. It's a great point. If you don't have the young energy base, then you don't have that support that you need to basically keep that strength.
I'm assuming if they're giving the unemployment rate of 21% for 16 to 24-year-olds, they're making the criteria comparable to the United States. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. There would be no perspective I could get out of it, because the unemployment rate for 16 to 24-year-olds in the United States last summer was 8.7%.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about an unemployment rate for young people in China 3 times that of the United States, almost 3 times.
With a massive population.
Yeah, no, you're right. With the didn't even think about that one.
Yeah,
with the population well over what, 4 times?
4
the United
times
States?
what we have here.
Right.
Well over.
Great point.
Mm-hmm. So now you've got a problem, because if you've got more than 1 of every 5 in that age group that's without a job, and they're not motivated, well then, yeah, Communist Party leaders should be concerned. It's not that that it would be. I mean, certainly you have to have a concern of unrest that might mimic 1989. I don't know. I don't know enough about that. The situation in China with that age group, it's hard to tell. And would it rise to that level? I'm not sure.
Well,
but it has to be a concern with Communist Party leaders that it might. That would be the ultimate threat. But then beyond that, you need the young people. You need the support. The party, the Communist Party, needs the support of these young people in order to maintain that control.
Well, if you think everything that has happened from the lockdowns from COVID, we talk about it. It's become part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
These phrases, quiet quitting. What was the other one about pay?
Act your wage.
Yeah, act your wage. Whatever the other one was, badge showing, where you just go in and do it. I mean, we're actually analyzing and studying now a generation of young people in the United States that sees a complete, in their own minds, lack of incentive to do anything but the bare minimum. That in the United States of America, because we talked about this, that in the United States of America, for example, we talked about how we've always thought differently. Once I make the deal with my employer, I'm going to do whatever I can, and I'm going to be the best worker that I can be because it's going to benefit me.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I may not be able to see the benefit, and the benefit in my life did not come as quickly as I wanted it to come. Whatever I viewed that benefit of. Money, status, chicks. That's
it's all about the chicks, man.
However I viewed it, but I knew it was going to come, and I knew the only way that more importantly, I knew the only way it could come is if I did it. I knew there was not going to be anybody out there. The government wasn't going to take care of me. Somebody else wasn't going to create my opportunity for me. I knew I had to do it. That was really my incentive. The fact of whether I was getting paid exactly what I wanted for a job that I knew I'd be gone from in a year didn't matter to me.
Right.
And even when I had a full-time job, I always viewed it as I don't have a contract. Right. I can go at any time.
Yeah.
The future is extremely bright because I get to decide what the future is. That's been lost in the United States by a significant portion of young people. Otherwise, you wouldn't hear quiet quitting. You wouldn't hear all these other, because I view that, you're like, wow, how is that happening in the United States? Now take China, where the lockdowns and the rules are much greater, and the opportunities are, because of the population, you look at the unemployment, are actually less, and the entire culture that you live in has not been in your lifetime or your parents' lifetime or your grandparents' lifetime has not been a country like the United States where freedom and incentive and opportunity is there for the individual.
Except for this caveat, and this is the one slide that I wanted to get to and read from, because it's interesting how it pairs down essentially this young group that they're writing about. Since China's government, again, this is the Wall Street Journal, since China's government cracked down on disaffected students in Tiananmen Square in 1989, most young people who came of age in an era of rapid economic growth and rising affluence have done what they're supposed to do and been rewarded for it. Think about it. If we're talking about that age group of post-college, well, what happened in Tiananmen Square, was before their time. And so they came of age during a time where they were rewarded for doing what they're supposed to do. You go to school, you get a job, and you see that growth. Many are still doing that, but a growing number of middle-class urbanites in their 20s and 30s in China have begun to question that trajectory, if not reject it entirely, as prospects of upward mobility fade. That's the thing, too. What they're not used to, as you mentioned, what they don't have is this opportunity that we have had in our nation, where a lot of us, at least until recently, see that opportunity, what the possibilities are. In fact, people from other parts of the world see it, and that's why they want to come here. They don't see it the same because they don't have it the same in China, although for a while, maybe, for about a 3-decade span, they were able to do those things, I won't say go through the motions, but do certain things and be rewarded for it, as they point out here in the Wall Street Journal. Well, when we went through COVID and the lockdown, that was something totally new for all of us. Mm-hmm. And it was, okay, where's the opportunity going to be? Blah, 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 blah. And that first couple of months, there were way too many questions. And then we started to look at it and go, okay, this can't go on forever. And now we know in hindsight, it shouldn't have happened at all to begin with. But now you think about being under communist leadership, these young people have been rewarded up until now in their age group for going to school, getting a job. This upward mobility is, or trajectory rather, is motivating for them in a way that no other generation there in China has known. And now the brakes are tapped because unemployment's on the rise with these young people, and they're looking at it going, well, what's the point? And communist leaders look at it and go, yeah, we need young people. We need China to be strong up against the U.S., and young people are a key part of that. I think it's an interesting dynamic. Look, it is generational. When I was young, I was a lot lazier than I am now, but I never thought of quiet quitting. I thought of not doing anything once I got off work. Man, I could lay down on a couch and watch TV like nobody's business. But I never thought of that outside of work. And overtime to me, when they said, hey, we're offering overtime, they phrased it that way for a reason. That's when you made your extra money. And these days, that's, what do you mean I have to work overtime?
Oh, yeah, it's one of the biggest complaints.
Yeah.
And in fact, not only is that a big complaint, working 5 days a week.
Oh,
you
right.
You look at the not just the stories that were written in the media, but the responses, tens of thousands of responses from young people saying, "You're right, working 9 to 5 is too hard. We need a 3." You had, good God, we've been roaring, laughing about it. Senator Chris Murphy, on last week, talking about the fact that, oh, no, we need a 4-day work week.
Cure loneliness.
We need to cure loneliness. And we want more people in churches. We want more people in community pools. I mean, he was just babbling over it and talking about loneliness. But the fact is, a lot of people like that. Look, I remember when I was in high school. So this is going back to the early 70s. And we were told by 2000, without a doubt, there is no way anybody's going to be working 40 hours a week.
Right, yeah.
No way. It would be not only a 4-day work week, it might only be a 3-day work week.
Right.
And then I think about it and I go, okay, let me see then. And let me see, by the time I got to 89, I got a 1-hour talk show. And then it went to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And remember, you have to prepare off it because people say, well, you're so lucky you only work 5 hours. That's on the air.
Right. Well, keep in mind, though, up until COVID, our economy was running 24/7. And I mean, there were lots of stores that were open 24/7.
And they're not now. Yeah. I mean, but we're the opposite because for me, it was 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Now I'm 5 hours.
Yeah.
So we didn't get any type of 4-day work week for me.
Right.
But for a lot of people, they're still working. Most people still work 40 hours a week.
Oh, yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You just wonder in a place like China, and I have always had a fascination since I met that young person from Iran, back about 12, 13 years ago, and her filling me in about, no, we know what's going on. We're not dumb.
Yeah.
And she looked and she goes, no, it's our. I'll never forget this is a quote from her: "Our stupid government and our stupid religion."
Yeah.
And that's why she came to the United States, because her grandparents were over here, even though she never met them. And she was able to get over here.
Yeah.
And it was like at 18, she goes, there was whatever the rules are is very limited. So I really wonder, what's going on in China? What does a young person actually know? What do they see in the news? How much do they really know about how the world runs and the difference between China and the United States?
Great point.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.